Welcome to AHRC TV's weekly human rights program, Just Asia. These are the headlines in this week's program. Missing Hong Kong book publisher confesses to his crimes on Chinese state television. Protests and violence continue in Nepal's Terai region. No solution in sight. Bangladesh Chief Justice calls on legal professionals to defend separation of powers before it's too late. Indonesia terror attacks leads to calls for military arrest powers. Welcome to AHRC TV's Just Asia. I'm Josephina Bergston. We begin here in Hong Kong. The absurd saga of the 5 presumably abducted book publishers has taken another twist. Last Sunday, it was confirmed that Gui Minhai, one of the 5 missing publishers, was indeed in China after he appeared on China Central Television, confessing to a hit-and-run incident 12 years ago. Gui claims he escaped from China in 2004 after receiving a suspended 2-year jail term for killing a girl in a drink-driving accident in Ningbo. Because of overwhelming guilt, he said he returned to China voluntarily to turn himself in. This contradicted the assumption that Chinese agents had abducted him in October while he was on holiday in Pattaya, Thailand. Gui's family and friends say they have never heard of such a hit-and-run accident. And even if it were true, Gui would have never gone back to China to confess. Even people on the mainland seem to doubt the televised confession.
I'm a fugitive. I could not go back to my country to see my parents. They were already in their 80s. My mother is seriously ill now. That really pains me. I want to see her while she's still alive. That's why I decided to return and turn myself in. I'm willing to take my responsibility and accept any punishment. Going back to my country and turning myself in was voluntary, and this was not related to others. I don't want any individual or organizations, including the Swedish government, to get involved or intervene in this matter. Though I hold Swedish passport, I still feel I'm a Chinese, and my roots are still in China. I hope my choice can be respected by the Swedish government. I hope that my right to make a choice and my privacy can both be respected. And let me face up to this issue.
It now appears that there is no record of China-born Swedish citizen Gui Minhai leaving Thailand before appearing on Chinese state television in custody, leaving many to suspect extrajudicial kidnapping by Chinese agents operating beyond their jurisdiction. Chinese authorities have finally also confirmed that Li Bo, who disappeared on December 30th from the streets of Hong Kong, was indeed in China. This was almost 3 weeks after the Hong Kong police requested the Chinese authorities to provide information about Li Bo's whereabouts. There is also no record of Li Bo crossing the border between Hong Kong and China. Here is Taiwanese animated news provider Tomo News' take on the saga playing out in Hong Kong, Thailand and China.
The case of the vanishing booksellers, how China is destroying freedom in Hong Kong. The apparent rendition of bookseller Li Bo has Hong Kong up in arms. Li was snatched on December 30th and taken to Shenzhen. Li Bo sells books that are banned in China, but are popular with their readers. One such forthcoming book details the extramarital exploits of China's President Xi Jinping. Adultery by politicians is considered corruption in China, but the book alleges that Xi himself has kept a peace on the side. After Li was taken to Shenzhen, he called his wife and told her he was okay, but she knew something was amiss because he spoke in Mandarin and not Cantonese. Also, Li had left his travel documents at home. Pro-China lawmaker Regina Ip said it wasn't illegal for citizens to leave Hong Kong without going through immigration. Broomhead said rich people leave Hong Kong on their boats all the time. Gui Minhai, another bookseller, was renditioned from Thailand. Gui Minhai then appeared on state television to say he had turned himself in voluntarily. The official story is Gui killed a girl in a drunk driving accident 11 years ago, was given a 2-year suspended sentence, but then inexplicably decided to run. Including Li Bo, a total of 5 Hong Kong booksellers have gone missing. What has happened to freedom under one country, two systems? If China can kidnap Hong Kong citizens, then that means one country, two systems is over.
It appears that confessing to crimes on Chinese state television is a bit of a trend. Another Swedish man who was arrested in Beijing earlier this month has now also made a TV confession, apologizing for hurting the feelings of Chinese people. Swedish human rights activist Peter Dahlin, who worked for the Chinese Urgent Action Working Group, was detained and accused of inciting opposition to the government. The organization provides training to human rights lawyers in China. Last year, of course, saw a massive crackdown on human rights lawyers that resulted in the arrest and detention of more than 130 legal staff.
I have violated Chinese law through my activities here. I have caused harm to the Chinese government. I have hurt the feelings of the Chinese people. I apologize sincerely for this, and I am very sorry that this ever happened. I have been made aware, become aware, that certain people that we have supported at one time or another have gone on to do acts in clear violation of the law. And we know that in some cases, such as Su Shanglan or Xing Xingxian, there have been very serious crimes. And we are also aware that that also means that we as an organization become criminally liable for the things that they have done. I once supported Wang Xuanjiang, who has now been arrested and facing trial for causing harm to national security. Xing Xingxian, who I once supported, have broken the law. He illegally brought the son of lawyer Wang Yu across an international border.
Many in Hong Kong are very concerned about what all this means for the city. Next week, Just Asia will feature a Hong Kong special interview with 2 respected Hong Kong legal professionals. This week, Just Asia caught up with Bijo Francis, Executive Director at the Asian Human Rights Commission, to get his take on the escalating situation.
Hong Kong is one of those rare jurisdictions in Asia where state excesses are hardly reported. There are hardly any instance of state excesses like torture or extrajudicial execution or fabrication of charges and so on. We don't have that kind of cases that get reported here in Hong Kong, which means that Hong Kong is also a place where rule of law, the presence of rule of law is actually a felt experience. It is something that you can feel and experience in day-to-day life. Unfortunately, the disappearance of the bookseller in Hong Kong, or shopkeeper in Hong Kong, and 4 of his other colleagues, 2 from China, 1 from Thailand, and 1 is alleged to have been disappeared from Hong Kong, is an alarming concern. Foremost is the concern that this issue relates to the question of disappearance. Disappearance, we all know, is that serious that it leaves families, friends and relatives in a state of a suspended uncertainty of not knowing about the welfare of whether the person is alive or not, whether the person is charged with an offence or not, perpetually. It also casts a direct responsibility upon the state to account for the welfare of the person. Disappearance means that the person who is otherwise supposed to be alive is not there anymore, not found anymore. Who or with whom does the responsibility, the ultimate responsibility rest with when a person is reported to have disappeared? It is with the state. So concerning the disappearance of the bookseller in Hong Kong, there is no doubt, or there should not be any doubt, that the responsibility of answering the question of disappearance of the bookseller is with the Hong Kong authorities. Now, this issue of disappearance also has in its sweep larger concerns, or it raises larger concerns. Now, for example, Hong Kong being part of China, of course it is a special administrative territory within China where the otherwise standards that apply to China does not apply to Hong Kong, where we have an independent policing, independent prosecution and independent judicial system. Now the question of disappearance, or disappearance as a matter of fact, challenges the very foundation of the independence of these institutions, more particularly the independence of the criminal justice apparatus of Hong Kong, which is very vital in preserving Hong Kong as what Hong Kong is today. Now, a case of disappearance means a person who is to be protected, his person and property to be protected by the state, is now found to be have disappeared, which means that the institutions which are supposed to guarantee the rule of law, their independence has been challenged by whoever who has caused this disappearance. Now, there is wide speculation that this person has been taken without the proper channel or without observing to the law and procedures from Hong Kong into China, for whatever be the reason. But then that poses an enormous challenge upon the Hong Kong government. It is for the Hong Kong government to investigate this case, make public as much as possible the proceeds of the investigation, and to instill or rather prevent losing the confidence of the public of Hong Kong in public institutions. So it is just not a case of a person who has disappeared. It is much more of it is equally rather a question of the independence of the Hong Kong administration, the safety and security and the future of Hong Kong, and it is also a question, or it is also a question mark. The incident is a question mark upon the independence of public institutions of Hong Kong, which is fundamental to the existence of Hong Kong. So if this case is to be taken or understood from that perspective, I think as long as this case continues, or as long as this case is left unanswered, it challenges the very existence of Hong Kong as an independent bastion or an independent oasis of rule of law for the whole of Asia.
Next, Nepal, where protests and killings are still a near daily occurrence in the Terai region in the southern part of the country. The conflict started 6 months ago, and since then, life for people in the region has come to a standstill. More than 50 people, including police and children, have been killed since the protests started. Meetings between top leaders from the 3 main political parties and the Madesi leadership have all so far been fruitless. The AHRC says that the government is not being serious about addressing the real issues. It has cautioned the government of Nepal and the protesting parties of the likelihood of more killings if the conflict is not diffused. The AHRC was made aware of an incident caught on video where a police officer shot a 16-year-old Mohammed Sams Tabarej while he was protesting alongside other students in Rautahat district on December 20th last year. The video clearly shows Tabarej getting shot and other protesters dragging him away to take him to hospital. However, police follow them and chase the other protesters away. The police then circle Tabarej and beat him. This delays Tabarej reaching the hospital, located just 5 minutes from the site. The AHRC calls on the police and the Terai region to practice proper internationally approved crowd control tactics and investigate, arrest and punish anyone who breaches the rules, such as with the intentional killing of protesters. Next, Just Asia turns to Bangladesh. The Asian Human Rights Commission has urgently called on the United Nations and global communities to stand behind the people of Bangladesh and prevent the emergence of a completely authoritarian system in the country. The AHRC made this call following Bangladesh's Chief Justice publicly stating that the country's executive is trying to take away all powers of the judiciary. Chief Justice Surendra Kumar Sinha said, "Beware of the executive, it is trying to take away all our powers. The judiciary and the legal profession have always raised their voices whenever such tendencies have surfaced in the past. If they don't step forward to stop the executive's bid to usurp all powers, who will? Justice Sinha made this statement at a book fair organized by the Supreme Court Bar Association on January 10th in Dhaka, Bangladesh. The Chief Justice went on to criticize the Bar Council for boycotting district courts on the grounds that they're useless, rather than going for proactive action. I appeal to all lawyers, especially the seniors, to step forward. The Bar Council is not just about elections. Senior advocates who are respected in their profession must step forward and ensure the Council uses its role to combat the failure to secure justice in the lower courts. Don't be silent spectators. The Asian Human Rights Commission has warned that it is perhaps at the final stage before the sinking of the ship that the captain is making this call. This call should therefore be taken with the utmost seriousness, and the strongest possible response is necessary before it's too late. Finally, to Indonesia. The Asian Human Rights Commission condemns the suicide bombing and explosion that took place in Sarinah Shopping Center, Jakarta, on January 14th. Around 23 people were killed or injured. One suicide bomber died after setting off the bomb strapped to his body, and 3 other perpetrators were shot dead by police. In response to the attack, the head of the intelligence agency publicly said that the agency's mandate should be strengthened, in particular to be able to arrest anybody who may be getting involved in a terrorist attack. The statement is in violation of the law number 17 of 2011 on the intelligence agency, because arresting and detaining suspects is the duty of the police. Allowing intelligence agents to arrest suspects could mean increasing a number of unfair trials due to wrongful arrests, arbitrary arrests, and detention, and even torture. Therefore, to fight and eradicate terrorism, the government should develop comprehensive systems and strategies open to internal and external oversight and respecting of human rights principles. That is all for this episode of Just Asia. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.